Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. Well, it's a glorious fall day here in mid-Michigan, and so there are lots of people out doing work in their yards, but I thought it would be a lovely day to take you around and give you an autumn tour of my garden because there is so much color. It's awesome. My name is Soleil, and again, I'm here in mid-Michigan, and we are a Zone 5B. So we get really good winters, and we have really great falls before the winter comes. All right, let's take a look at what's going on in the garden. Well, here we are in the potager, and I've gotten some of my pots cleaned out over here, so we'll have to put those away for the winter. And this pot will also have to get put away for the winter, but the 9-barks are really beautiful right now. And I've definitely done a great deal of cleanup in the potager, and I've come through and put some nice leaf mulch in some of the areas. My Autumn Jubilee 9-barks have not yet colored up completely, so we have actually some snow in the forecast along with the rain, and I'm guessing that's going to put them into the fall color. But you'll see I've gotten my garden beds really nicely tucked in here. I brought through some of the leaf mulch that is just chopped up maple leaves, and I've put it over the top. You know, it's probably about a 1-inch layer here. I don't do it too thick in the vegetable garden, but I definitely have more of the leaf mulch coming because the maple trees that my neighbor has have only lost about half of their leaves so far. So I still haven't gotten to this one. It has some strawberries in it, and I will definitely be mulching around those as well. And here's my volunteer pepper plant that is still growing. Been picking up pots here and there around the garden, and so I've got a stack of them here, and it's about time to start thinking about which pots I need to put away and which pots I need to store inside. This right here is the Burgundy Glow Ajuga, and it has definitely grown quite a bit since I planted it. So next year I'm going to have to come through and pull some of it out and maybe put some of it around the rest of the garden. Over here, this garden bed is looking really lovely, I think, and boy, it's just a nice time of year. I've put a little bit of leaf mulch in this garden bed, but it really doesn't need a lot. This area is quite excellent soil. I will have to be putting the lady's head and the support pillar for her away because otherwise those will get damaged in the winter. Just look at the pinky winky hydrangea though. Isn't that beautiful still? Each of the little seed heads on there are a glorious dark pink. My coralberry bushes are super pretty in pink. Been having a little bit of a fire today. You may see a little smoke coming from over there. It's just been one of those kind of glorious days. Nice and still. We had some rain, so it's so pretty over here with the fall color of the leaves chopped up, but also we have the fall foliage on the blueberries really turning that bright, gorgeous red. And then if we take a look at the 7 sunflower, those bracts that I told you about are finally starting to come out. So here they are looking a beautiful pink. And they just glow, don't they? I just think those are so pretty. Again, a little bit reminiscent of a panicle hydrangea because they are panicles, but a very different texture. And there's my penstemon putting out some of its last blooms still. I am loving the view over here right now. It is so pretty to me. With the new hydrangea in the corner and the beautiful hydrangeas underneath the purple plum tree. And all of the leaves that have been chopped up and placed. It's a really excellent use of some organic material that will break down over the winter and just help to feed the soil. And you can see this Autumn Jubilee 9 bark is starting to turn a little bit. And once it turns all the way, it will just glow in the light. It's very amber, as it suggests. Well, it's Autumn Jubilee, but I think it's very amber colored. You can see some of the hostas turning their really stunning glowing yellow in the back there. And I am just loving the way that this pink diamond hydrangea looks in this corner of the garden. So thrilled with it. And there's a Norway maple that planted itself back here that I have plans to cut out. It's definitely would be sucking lots of nutrients and moisture out of the soil over in this corner and creating very deep dark shades. So that will be going this winter. But I have so many garden chores right now. Can you see these beautiful berries on the hawthorn? Do you guys have lots of people in your neighborhood cleaning up their yards right now as well? The pulmonarias have done great over here. I'm so happy with them. Those are the spot-on variety. And this is the brand new PRS that I planted, the Scarlet O'Hara, and it is doing lovely. It's got lots of buds on it, so that's going to be beautiful this winter. As we come through the Woodland Garden, you'll see I used even more leaf mulch in here because the Woodland Garden is the perfect place to use some of this glorious material because all of these plants just love it. I added a new hellebore down here and it's put out a couple of new leaves. So I think that's a sign that it's very happy in its new position. Other plants that will just love this leaf material are my azaleas. So I've been putting it around the base of the azaleas as well. And just look at that deep burgundy purple color on the oak leaf hydrangea. Isn't that gorgeous? I'll be interested to see how this witch hazel colors up this fall, whether we get any color from it or not. You never know kind of the first year that you plant something. Sometimes they go from all green to nothing. This Pinky Winky looks beautiful still. The Woodland Garden still looks nice and full. I do have one area where the ferns had been, I don't know if they were eaten back or they were trampled on or laid on by a bunny, but right in here. And they've definitely come back quite a bit. And so I've just come through with some of that leaf mulch. And my witch hazel that is back there behind the fence is doing really well. So I think they're going to be great. You can see I've also fed the soil over here with the leaf mulch for the oak leaf hydrangea and for the lungwort. Isn't that pretty? It just looks like a forest floor. Look at the color on this Virginia, you guys. Isn't that gorgeous? I love it. So pretty. We had a lot of wind come through and knock quite a few of the leaves off of the Kusa dogwood back here. but it still has a few leaves that are hanging on. And I also put lots of leaf mulch underneath that and the Untitled Hydrangea here. It adds a nice little backdrop for the Brunnera as well. So we'll just kind of take a pan around the garden right now so you can see a little bit what it looks like. And I have added some beautiful lights, you guys, to my garden, some solar lights. This one right here. You'll see some of them in the areas where I had hanging baskets, and they were sent to me to try out by Gigalumi. And I added them into some of the other bird cages that are around my garden, and they really light up the garden at night in such a beautiful way. I'll actually, at the end of this video, put up some footage of them from the nighttime. Just look at the glow on that hosta. Isn't that magnificent? And if you're able, if the snow or ice doesn't come too soon on your hostas and turn them into a slimy mess, I highly recommend leaving them because of this beautiful color that they bring to the garden late in the season. The Jacob's Ladder is still beautiful and deep. This little hottie hydrangea definitely got a bit of the cold snap quickly, but it should be okay over the winter. And just look at the blooms on this ultra pink phlox still going. I can't believe it. We're supposed to have snow in the forecast and then 70s after that. Welcome to the Michigan weather. Now over here by our little window area is where I added a couple other of the Gigalumi lights. These are little mason jars that have fairy lights in them, and they just light up this bench area so lovely at night and tell you right where to go to sit down. I also added some path lights at the end that they sent me, and they cast such a beautiful kind of pattern on the ground at night. It's very inviting. Now my divisions of this heuchera are doing incredible, I think anyways. I think they're going to do just fine. And there's the brand new seedling that we got this year that was a volunteer in the pathway. And just look at these pretty heucheras right here. In Michigan right now, I would call it chainsaw, leaf blower, and all sorts of kind of equipment season as people get ready for the winter. Cutting up wood for their fireplaces and cleaning up their gardens and their yards. So we've pretty much seen the end of these golden tiara hostas, but they aren't quite back to the ground yet. So I will wait. It will probably be at the end of this week that I'll clean them up, because they will be all dried up, back to the ground, and at that point I can just pick them up really easily. This red bud here has lost all of its leaves in comparison to the red buds that we have over here, which still has all of its leaves. I think the azalea is beautiful. Look at the colors on that. Now this is an evergreen azalea, so I get to still see foliage over the winter that's kind of a coppery color. All of these hostas are just about getting ready to freeze back to the ground as well, but they're still putting on some pretty color from afar. The penstemon over here Still have some blooms on them despite turning from green to burgundy. And we have our beautiful catch flies that have definitely taken in this area very well. I'm looking forward to seeing all of the pretty little pink flowers that they put out en masse next year. And the bees have not completely given up here. We have a bumble there on the salvia. And this Firelight Hydrangea is still looking pretty to me. It's trying to push out one last bloom, but I'm not sure if it's going to make it through the next few nights. The pieris over here are just covered in buds as well. You can see here. Isn't that pretty? And when they bloom this winter, oh my goodness, it's going to be gorgeous with the contrast against the snow. And did I tell you that this Mount Airy Fothergilla was a showstopper in the fall, or what? And this camera doesn't even do the colors justice, I don't think, but it is so gorgeous. Just look at that. Colors sometimes you can only dream of. Nature is magnificent. Well, thank goodness that loudleaf blower stopped. We have some beautiful little lime hydrangeas back here. And the blooms are a little flappy right now, but they're still so pretty. They haven't turned brown. And this penstemon is throwing up a late bloom. Look at that beautiful purple. Right now you just have to savor each of the last moments that you get. And look at this limelight with the pure joy sedum. I just love how that kind of fills in the base of that plant. And the color on this Diamond Rouge hydrangea is intense. Look at how the leaves are starting to change. Gorgeous. Now this is the invasive common pokeweed that you might see around, which is absolutely beautiful. But every one of these seeds is going to drop and create a weed in my garden this year. They are beautiful, but they do stain things as well. So don't touch them. They'll stain your hands and your clothes. This area is so pretty right now and colorful, not just with the leaves on it, but look at this Mugginia right here and the colors that it has turned. Isn't that beautiful? It just glows. This Weigela put on some substantial growth this year. I can't wait to see what it's going to do next year. That is the one that will have 3 different colors on it. It's called Checkmark Trilogy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that will do. We have a really late flowering mum here that's just starting to put out its blooms. We'll just pan back on the garden here so you can see what it looks like from this end. So pretty. You can see how that hawthorn is changing color. You have berries on all of the honeysuckle bushes as well. It's gorgeous. So pretty. And here comes the sunshine. Look at that. The 9-bark is doing well in its new home. It's starting to lose some of its leaves, but that's okay. We have some of the ultra pink flax blooming a bit. And this Deutzia is putting its purple and burgundy foliage out now. It's just really pretty. For the first time ever, I'm getting color on this Spirea here. Normally it was just a lime green that turned yellow and then lost its leaves, but we're getting some beautiful pinks and oranges and some kind of reds on it. There's another bee on the salvia, trying to find its last little bits of nectar. Now the lungwort back here is doing great, putting on a lot of growth. It seems really happy. And the color on this viburnum is simply gorgeous. I am so glad I have two of these. And then with that barberry in front of it, it just looks so pretty. And the Cappuccino Coneflower. I'm gonna have to divide this in the springtime. It's a little too late to do that now because, well, there's just not enough time for the roots on perennials to establish anymore, and it's gonna be really cold this week, but it's so pretty. I need to make more of that next year. And that's a double play doozy Spirea back there that's turning a very pretty color of lavender purple on its leaves. You can see here's one of those beautiful lights that I was telling you about. I replaced my hanging baskets with these solar lights. This is another one from Gigalumi. It has these beautiful cutouts of leaves. And you'll see at night the cool patterns that they put out. They're beautiful. So we have another one that's down here. And there is one that is right down there too, in front of the redbud. The lilies in this bed are turning purple, and we've got some beautiful bright color pops still that provide an amazing contrast with these false cypress, as they contrast so nicely as well with these black pearl heucheras. And the new hydrangea that we just planted, this is the can-do hydrangea. Can't really tell yet what color the blooms are going to be here, whether they will stay purple or pink, or if they'll be kind of in between. I would love it if they were kind of in between. I'm getting a couple tiny last blooms from that ultraviolet phlox. And down here we're still getting the rose marvel salvia blooming, which is beautiful under this maple tree. And plenty of this gorgeous lavender. This is the sweet romance lavender. Get your last bits of pollen, bees. Here's that aronia putting on some fall color, and the superstar spirea. And even the forsythia is putting on some beautiful fall color, a really dark purple color. And let's take a look at the fountain garden over here. We have our berry white hydrangeas that are glowing in the sunshine. And I don't know if you can see the viburnums back there with their beautiful yellow and red. Those are just the arrowwood viburnums. And then over here you can see the vanilla strawberry hydrangea is glowing along with the strawberry sundae one. And we're still getting some last minute roses, but lots of rose hips to put on some color for us. We're getting ready to close up the fountain, measuring it for a new cover. Last year we just used a tarp. But look at these beautiful colors down here. Look at that azalea, isn't that gorgeous? I believe this one actually loses its leaves over the winter. And these weigelas, again, I'm really hoping that they will make it through the winter, but I think they are going to look really pretty in those pots. Right, well, as we head out to the front yard, we see this strawberry Sunday hydrangea still looking really beautiful. The hostas are dying back over here, but we are getting some bright color starting on our shrub, the burning bush. And we have our azaleas that are turning a beautiful fall color as well in here. And just look at that hydrangea tree on the corner. Isn't that pretty with its beautiful yellow leaves that are just, oh, they're getting ready to fall. I think they're probably going to get lost this week. We did do a little sprucing up of the entryway here. We got some beautiful colorful corn and squashes and pumpkins. And this is just an old propane tank that has been carved into a pumpkin head. And at my local nursery, I was finally able to find some gorgeous kale. So we got those all planted up. And all the way up into the entryway, we planted it. So we have some driftwood with the kale. And we tucked a little birdhouse in there with the kale. And some of the pretty little stones. And these are just from my Allium schubertii this spring, still sitting there. So here we are in the side garden bed, and you can see that we have lost the leaves on this flowering crabapple. So the first one to go. The purple coneflowers are all turning almost completely black now, but the birds again are still enjoying those seed heads. And you can see what they look like after they have been completely nibbled off. Isn't that pretty as well? And that is a nice pyramidal cone. I definitely get plenty of volunteers. Oh, look at that cabbage moth coming through. This time of year, I don't mind them. Now I did come through here for some evergreen interest. I don't have any in this bed. And so I added the 2 boxwoods, one there and one there, that I had planted in the containers near my front porch. I may need to get some new ones for that area, but I really wanted to just begin adding some evergreen to this bed, and I think that's going to be a really nice addition. The deer don't like them, so hopefully they'll be able to stay. We're starting to lose the leaves on the Louisa crabapple. The little crabapples are still on there. Someone asked me how big they are, and I would just say that they're between a pea and a garbanzo bean. I haven't come through and cleaned up the gara yet, but it's very interesting to see this stem has turned bright red. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me just put my hand behind it. Isn't that pretty? I wonder if they're all going to turn that bright red, so I'm just going to leave them because that would be gorgeous. If you grow gara, tell me if yours turn bright red in the fall. And the black scallop ajuga has really taken on a deep dark color now. It's very intense. It's a gorgeous contrast against things. We have a couple of these berry chiffon coreopsis buds that have actually flowered since I showed you them the first time. And look at the beautiful orange rose hips back here. Those are from the Oscar Peterson rose. Man, those are gorgeous. I wonder if the deer will eat them. I'd like to cut those for a bouquet. But everything's looking good in this garden bed. I'm really happy with it. Got a lot more rose hips on this side as well. And then in the front, this scallywag holly has taken on some serious deep dark color. I think that is gorgeous. Looking forward to seeing what new growth that one will put on this spring. And the mums are still providing very bright and cheery blooms for us. When we went to the pumpkin farm, we got some pretty corn stalks and tied them up against the lamppost, which I think looks cute. And the dianthus are still blooming at the bottom of these boxwoods. You can see the boxwoods are starting to take on a little bit of a coppery color, which is pretty normal for them this year. It does not mean that they are dying. It just is kind of that color that they take on as it gets really cold. The irises are still looking great. I'm super happy that I tried growing them on in a pot first, because I think that's really going to make a big difference for them in having a good start before the winter comes. And the mums are just so colorful in this bed right now. We still have blooms on our penstemon, and the bees are loving those as well. And then of course the gorgeous jet stream hydrangea. Just look at the color of those leaves. It is the same as this barberry over here, which has bright red berries on it. Now these are the orange rocket barberries. These are supposed to be kind of sterile, so I'm not sure. But be careful with barberries. In some areas they are definitely not selling them because they can be invasive. Isn't that pretty, the color of the mums against that brown of the dried blooms on the hydrangeas? That's the Bobo hydrangea right there. I think that's pretty. You know, you just have to look at things sometimes a little bit different in the fall and in the winter time to see all of the beauty that nature has to offer throughout all of the seasons. And I get to look out my window at this beautiful garden bed. So I get to see the structure of the weeping cherry and the structure of the boxwoods and other forms during the winter. So this viburnum here, which is the Wabi Sabi viburnum, is also starting to change color. And here we have the beautiful pink scabiosa, which turns into these gorgeous looking seed heads. Aren't those pretty? I think the seed heads are almost as pretty as the flower. And I would love for them to reseed. I think that would be wonderful. And here, you all, is my most gorgeous and beautiful maple tree. This is my $35 Autumn Blaze maple that I'm just so proud of. Because look at the color on it. Look at it glow. Isn't that beautiful? Can you imagine next year will be its 3rd year? So that's when plants really take off. And I'm hoping that's the case for this one as well. Because my goodness, isn't that gorgeous? And so as these large trees that are my neighbors are dying, which I saw some fungus around the base of one the other day, this is growing to take the place of them. And should be nice and big by the time that those get lost. So we'll still have some shade from this one, and we will still get some of the beautiful leaves. I want to show you this Japanese maple tree, which is about 20 years old, probably 17 years old, that I grew from a little teeny tiny 4-inch stick from the National Arbor Society, something like that. Anyways, it's turning red as well, and very gorgeous. It's actually gotten to the size where I can no longer trim it every single year. But it does need some opening up in the center to let some of the light through for the plants underneath of it as well as the rain. We'll take a look at the garden beds in here. The Hostas are still holding on. These are my Monarda that I planted a little late in the season, but that's cerise. And the hellebores are all really green still. And they've actually pushed out some new leaves. This one has a brand new leaf. You can see it's a little lighter than the others. And this one did as well. And these are hellebores that we planted this spring from mail order. So it's great to see that. And we have one more that is back here as well that you can see the light green new growth on. So that's great because that means their roots are really getting established. This time of year, as things fall from the trees, it's important to keep your bird baths clean. So I have to do that quite frequently here. Looks like we have a baby hellebore that planted itself right here. We'll have to transplant that one next year. A little too late this year. All of the leaf material that is in this garden bed is not chopped up. This is just naturally fallen from the trees. I get a lot of questions about whether I will leave the leaves in the garden beds or not. And after I shred them and I put them on as mulch, yes, I leave it. I leave it in the springtime and I mulch right over the top of it. Look at the color on this Fothergilla. So this one is the blue shadow. And this one is really like a lilac purple. Again, I don't think this camera does a great job of picking it up, but hopefully you can see just how pretty the colors are and the contrast with that bright orangey yellow foliage of the Hostas. So pretty. So I am thinking about replacing this barberry with something that grows a little bit taller and provides some height in this area. So we'll see what I can come up with for that. It may not happen this fall because we are definitely just about out of time. I have a little bit of color starting up at the bottom of this fragrant sumac. My guess is this week it will put on some more. And this Virginia has not colored up yet either. But all of the leaves in the garden bed sure are pretty, aren't they? This is the other viburnum, the one that I just planted this year, and it's getting some fall color as well. It's a little bit more protected and warmer on this side as the night goes on from the late afternoon sun. So things definitely don't put on their color until a little later than the rest of the yard. So look at this. This looks really pretty. The golden tiara hostas right here have turned very golden. They really highlight this bird bath. And in the fall, this elderberry should turn a really pretty color. Some of it has started, you can see right here, but it just really doesn't get that much sun. So because of that, I don't know if the whole thing will turn or not. I think as it gets taller, it will get darker during the summer, as well as turn better colors during the fall. So next year I'll be pruning that one up a little bit in the hopes of just trying to really focus its energy on growing upwards instead of outwards. And then finally over here we have the Spirea that I transplanted, which is looking really pretty, I think. It's supposed to turn kind of an orange in the fall. This is like a bridal's wreath Spirea. It's actually called Fire Gold because it has that chartreuse, limey green color to it. And I think it's not going to get very much fall color because of the transplanting taking much of its energy right now, but definitely really happy with having that in this garden. Stay tuned for some nighttime footage, and we're going to show you around the garden in the dark with those beautiful Gigalumi lights, and there'll be a link in the description to them if you like the lights and are interested in them. So these are very cute and quite bright actually, and they have these little fairy lights in them, and the jars say good luck on the front. And what I did was I took some sea glass from the dollar store and put it in there, and you can put just about anything in there, like some marbles, or you could even paint the inside of the glass so they glow a certain color if you wanted to. gold would be really pretty. But they're just so inviting, and I feel like what a wonderful addition to the garden and a nice way to enjoy it at night. Come out with a drink and sit down and relax, and you shouldn't even be tempted to have to do any work because you can't see it that well, but you can still enjoy the glow within the garden. All right, let's check out the lights that I replaced the hanging baskets with because they are beautiful. Just look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? You see that amazing pattern behind them? So these are the leaves that have been carved into the lights, and the pattern stretches a couple of feet out from the light itself. And we have quite a few of them in the garden, 7 to be exact, because we replaced every single one of the hanging baskets with one of these lights. This one's under the purple plum tree, and it looks amazing. And they go really well with the lights that I had gotten from Costco earlier that have some cutouts in them. You can see I have one of those down here, and then up behind them is this pair of the leaf cutouts. The moon is out really bright tonight. See that up in the sky? I don't know if it's a full moon tonight or what. It's quite bright. Okay, well, you can see some more of the lights around the garden from here. One of the ones that I think turned out really cute, well, I think they all turned out really cute, but this one is super fun. I hung it in the middle of this cage where the rhubarb is. And isn't that beautiful how it's glowing? This is the crackle light one, and it does have some of those little fairy lights inside of it. But it has a really nice glow. And I think it looks beautiful hanging in that, cage. And then I took another one of them, actually the other 2 of them, and I put them in the bird cages that are back here. So you can see how that looks. Isn't that pretty? And you can actually see these from inside my house hanging back here through the sliding glass door. And they just look so cute. It really draws the eye out into the garden and makes you want to come outside. So here's another one of those hanging in this bird cage. And then over here we have 2 of those jars again with the cute little lights in them that I put into the plant pots. And I just love the way that they glow up in this window frame here. Isn't that cute? It's a little bit hard to see on this camera, but I think they're really pretty. And then we took the 6 pathway lights that we have, and they're at each entryway here, and look at the beautiful glow that they put down here. The pattern and distribution of light and shadow is gorgeous. And they just make a nice little welcoming way to find your way to the entries of each path in this garden bed. And you can follow them till you get to the end of the path to exit. They're so pretty. Lighting is such a wonderful way to extend your day in the garden. And with solar lighting, you can't go wrong because you can put it in so many different areas without having to worry about whether you have electricity or not. You certainly do have to make sure that there's enough sunshine in the area for them to be able to have enough energy to glow at night. But just look at that, that's so pretty. And to have them all around with the soft glow against the fence throughout the garden, it's just magical. It'd be nice to have a fire out at night and to have these lights all about. Just makes it very relaxing and provides a whole different type of atmosphere. It looks lovely along the fence. And here we are standing back by the fountain, and you can see across the pool the little lights. Well, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and are thinking about putting some lights in your garden because they really are beautiful. This is one last one that we have as I head inside for the evening. This is hanging in the clematis trellis. So wouldn't that be pretty with all the vines all around it and making your vines glow at night? So gorgeous. All right, signing off for now. See you next time. Bye.